Welcome to r/petty revenge, where OP takes a douchebag to court. Our next Reddit post is from I See Where I Look. 2 years ago, I drove into a parking lot with my wife and kids. There seemingly was only one parking spot left, but a BMW was towed in at the front and left almost no room. I talked to the attendant and she said that was the last spot. The system handles capacity automatically. So I carefully drove in and parked about 3 centimeters from the other car. I had to get out of my car through the passenger side. When we went to leave, the BMW was gone and 2 of my tires were flat. I called the parking attendant over and showed her, and she called her manager who said they'd send someone within the hour. My wife and kids took a taxi home and I stayed there waiting. But I was pissed and called the police and asked the manager for the video. They wouldn't give me the video without an official police complaint. So I made one, and the manager then had me contact their legal department to take it from there. A few minutes after finishing up all this police and legal stuff, the mechanic showed up, filled my tires, and I went home. I had to hound the parking company for almost 3 months until they sent the police a copy of the video. The first time the footage was from the wrong camera, the second time it was from the right camera but the wrong time frame. The third time they got it right. Once the police had the full video, I was able to amend my original complaint to vandalism and directly identify the guy that did it from the camera and license plate. A few months ago, I get a letter inviting me to an arbitration. I reply refusing and say that this will be handled through the judicial system. I add this arbitration offer to my complaint. A week later, I get a call from the guy's daddy's lawyer offering me a few $1,000 to forget about this. The kid was mad and made a mistake. I should be reasonable, not let this go too far, etc. I tell him no to everything and ask to not be contacted again. A few more weeks go by. I think this would be about 6 months after the incident, and I get a court date, 11 months into the future. Every couple of months, I get a call with different offers from different lawyers to drop the case, all of which I make sure to amend the case documentation. When the court date finally comes, the guy is there with daddy and their lawyer and me with mine. They make one last effort to work out a deal, but I deny again. The case is over pretty quickly, as the video is horribly damning to this guy's case. You can clearly see him walk up, look at my car, make a few angry gestures, then pull out his car, get out, and deflate my tires. There wasn't much he could say in his defense. The adjudication goes in my favor and the verdict is common vandalism, and he's assigned 50 days fine at 50%, which works out to be about $1,700 plus 90 days of home arrest. They appealed, but this was thrown out a few weeks ago, and just last week, I got the news that the verdict is now final. The payment deadline has been set to October 10th of this year, or else home arrest becomes jail time. They called yesterday asking for my bank account, and they made the transfer today. So Monday, I'm reporting payment received and the end of this 2-year journey. So, Martin, I don't know if you use Reddit or not, but enjoy your home arrest, and too bad your university doesn't accept home arrest as a valid excuse, and you'll lose all credits this cycle. Maybe think about that next time you want to screw with someone else's stuff. Yo, this isn't just petty revenge, this is straight up justice. Also, down in the comments, OP clarified that the lawyers offered around $3,000 to just drop the case, which was roughly double what he got in the court case, but OP really wanted to make the guy suffer, so he declined. Our next Reddit post is from Big Max. I worked an engineering contract for a while. They were pretty open-ended, like a lot were, with a vague length specified. Kinda like, this contract is expected to be for 12 months, but it's at the will of the employer, and it could end earlier or be extended further. But for those who do that kind of work, usually they stick to the vague timelines, and a lot of well-performing contractors get extended. Anyway, one day our team of 10, who were all contractors managed by one full-time employee, let 3 of the contractors go. And they had me do it. Technically, I was running that team, but I was a contractor too, and not in charge of any firing people like that. So they were just told, this is your last day at 4 p.m. Me and another contractor asked our sponsor, hey, how come we didn't give those guys any notice? The full-time employee said brightly, that's why we hire contractors, so we can cut them loose at a moment's notice whenever we want to. We did not love that answer. Also, it was a weird thing to say to 2 other contractors. He basically told us we'd get no notice and be let go instantly someday. Anyway, long story short, that other contractor was a very sharp guy. We started interviewing and got another job. He told me about it and I didn't tell anyone else. The job started in a few weeks. He just kept right on working the contract job and was right in the middle of a bunch of work that only he understood. At 5 p.m. on his last day, he just stood up, grabbed his laptop and stuff, walked to the full-time employee's desk and set the stuff down. He just said brightly, "Hey, thanks for everything. This is my last day." The full-time employee said, "Wait, you're leaving?" And he just said, "Yeah, thanks," and walked out. That was it. He did also hit send on a more official last day email at the same time too. It was really funny. His work was half done, he didn't answer any calls or questions about it, and it took us like a month to figure it all out and get that project back on track. If the sponsor hadn't been so delighted about being able to fire contractors at any second, that guy would have definitely given a nice 2-week notice and worked to have a smooth handoff of his work. Down in the comments, we have this story from Long Schlong Silver. I work in construction and I've had coworkers fired with no notice. My boss, the owner, said that he was not required to give any notice in our industry. I worked for that company for a little more than 10 years. When the writing was on the wall for me to move on, I worked my shift and found my boss at the end and told him I was done, effective immediately. He practically begged me to stay and train a replacement for the machine that I run daily. I told him he had 10 years to figure out a backup, and since I no longer work for him, it was none of my business. He asked why I didn't give any notice, and I regurgitated his line about no notice required in our industry. My favorite part of the conversation was when he asked if I could at least come in for a few complicated jobs that week, and I said that was akin to breakup sex, and no. This is why, in my opinion, the whole 2-week notice thing is a big load of bull, because employers aren't like, "Hey, by the way, I'm going to fire you in 2 weeks. No, they just take you to HR on Friday, which is what happened to me, by the way. And they're like, "Hey, by the way, you're fired. Go home. You don't have a job on Monday." So why are employees obligated to treat employers any better? Our next Reddit post is from Doc Fallout. Several years ago, I was waiting in a grocery deli line to pick out some potato wedges for my wife. It wasn't a long line. I was 4th or 5th in line and the last person in the line. Up walks some lady and what I presumed to be her daughter or granddaughter. Anyways, this lady kept trying to jump the line each time a person was served, and the patient deli worker kept telling her she needed to wait her turn, with the lady getting more and more frustrated that she couldn't just do what she wanted. The guy before me goes, and I hear her telling her daughter, "This is effing ridiculous. I just want some wedges." And this being petty revenge, we know exactly what I plan to do upon hearing that. Finally, we get to my turn, and she tries to jump in again. Only this time, I pipe up to let her know that the end of the line is behind me. She did not like that at all, exclaiming, "This is BS. It's first come, first serve." The worker and I just stared at her until she walks behind to her irritation area off to the side, and I see there are scant few potato wedges available. So I tell the worker I'll need more than what's available, and he says they'll need to make some more. About a 5-minute wait. It was longer than that, closer to 10 minutes as it turns out. Knowing what the lady wants and that it's not there, I say he can help her. They go through the same process, which irritates her further, but says something like, "Fine, might as well at this point," and steps aside in a huff. The new wedges are brought out, and I see her start to move like she's going to jump in front of me, but I remind her I'm next to order. The deli guy asks how much I want, usually a quantity in pounds, and I quietly say, "I want all the wedges." "All of them?" "All of them." He cracks a bit of a smile and says, "Sure thing," and gathers them up for me. I start to walk away, slowly, so I can see the aftermath. And shrilly she shouts, "He did what?" and whips her head around to me. I wish I could say that I locked eyes with her and ate a wedge right in her face, but alas, that idea came to me as I recounted the tale to my wife at home. Best $14 I ever spent. Opie, as someone who once worked at a grocery store, I can say you probably made the deli worker's day as well. Our next Reddit post is from Nude in the Garden. When my brother got married, his bride, now my sister-in-law, had very specific expectations. She wanted everyone in the family to wear their wedding colors, and we all did. People flew in from out of state. Everyone made an effort to make her feel celebrated. The day before the wedding, she made some offhanded but clearly pointed remarks about how our side of the family never takes anything seriously, and she wasn't expecting us to take this seriously either. The comments made their rounds, and feelings were hurt before the wedding even began. But we still showed up, looked great, and participated. Fast forward to getting the wedding photos and video. Not a single photo of our side of the family was posted. Not one. In the entire 3-minute highlight reel. No faces from our family except a 3-second clip of my parents with the bride and groom. The rest of us, it was like we never existed. I texted her cordially and asked if she could send me the pictures with just our siblings, since none had been posted. She responded that we never took those pictures. That's wild because I remember helping people adjust corsages for them. She doubled down on the gaslighting. I gave it 6 months and asked again. She suddenly had no idea what I was talking about. Fine. Here's where the petty revenge comes in. I'm getting married in 8 days. I've been engaged for 6 months and planning this moment since she tried to erase us. I hired a great photographer and videographer. What she doesn't know is that the videographer has a secret mission. Make it look like she's getting all the attention. Track her. Hover near her like she's the star of the show. She'll feel so seen. And then, the final cut, she won't appear for even 1 second. Just like we made sure she didn't. I didn't even invite her originally. Word must have gotten out because she cornered me at a family dinner and said, "Unfortunately, I have to work the day before and after your wedding, but I should still be able to make it." I was so stunned I just said, "That's fine. The Airbnb is booked whether you're there or not. So now she's coming. Ugh." To cope, I spelled her name wrong on the wedding invite on purpose. That was my first move. The video blackout will be my last. Our next Reddit post is from Professional Pin. In late April, I hurt my foot and ankle, which required surgery, so I was given a temporary handicap placard. I went to Target to pick up some groceries in the middle of the afternoon, when I knew that it would be dead. Except a single car was taking up 3 handicap parking spots horizontally across 3 lanes. A very nice Porsche, with no tags, no placard, and the passenger side window was wide open, like an invitation. I grabbed some dirt and gravel from nearby and lightly sprinkled it all over the passenger seat for theatrics. Then I went inside and told the front desk that I thought I saw a raccoon slip into the Porsche hogging up the handicapped spots. They announced this over the intercom, asking the owner to come up. I stayed within viewing distance to see what would happen. A dude practically ran over, yelling about his car and calling the employees' names for lack of pest control. Clearly pissed and yelling. Not long after, a big biker-looking security guard showed up. Then he called parking enforcement to handle the parking violation. He was also banned from that Target for his conduct. Meanwhile, I doubt there was any sign of a raccoon in his car. Down in the comments, we have this story from Known Skin. I used to drive a tow truck. I was always slammed, but never too busy to relocate handicap parking violators. Security had me on speed dial. In and out in, I guess, about 20 seconds once the impound sheet was signed. Sorry, not sorry. These dickheads deserve to be treated like they treat others. Disrespectfully and with extreme prejudice. I made a lot of money with that alone. Again, sorry, not sorry. Our next Reddit post is from Django. During the pandemic, I started making wines, beers, and meads for my friend. At the time, we lived in a country where it was hard to get alcohol, and due to the virus, we were all locked out of our primary supplier for over a year. No one could get alcohol. So I started brewing again after a 15-year hiatus, supplying my community, so to say. Well, it really irked this one guy that people would trade me things for my wines and meads. It also really drove him nuts that I know how to malt and basically make beer from feed grain. So, at every opportunity, he would just piss insults on my wine. And yeah, it was simple country wine, but well-crafted using local fruits. Clear, balanced, strong. Wapatui is what we used to call it back home. His wife would back him up. I always thought this was strange because I was delivering truckloads of wines to my friends and people would hardly ever touch his wine at parties. Anyway, we were having a sampling night, which is how I met most of my people. And in front of the whole room full of people, he pisses insults all over the wine that I had poured. "Well," I said, "you made that one. I didn't want you to feel left out." They stayed 5 minutes max and shuffled out. Down in the comments, someone asks, "Awesome, how did the rest of the attendees respond?" And OP says, "Well, it wasn't hard to move my product after sampling that one." That was r/petty revenge, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.